Welcome back. Here we are in MySQL Workbench. We've created staff and department tables so far. Now let's add a new table and call it car. Now the two columns we'll need here again need to be consistent with VF1. So we want our primary key of ID, type integer auto incrementing, and referred as of type varchar of 40 characters in length. And now, considering this is going to be a cars table, we would expect some extra information here, such as the registration number of the car. So let's have reg number. Again, we can leave that as the varchar. So we don't need any other fields for now, but notice the relationship between staff and car. This is a many-to-many relationship, as one staff can hire or use many cars, and that one car could also be used by many members of staff. So let's use the many-to-many icon here now between the tables. Now some of you may be familiar with database rules, where if you have a many-to-many relationship, you will need a join or link table between the two to take the IDs from both tables as a foreign key, and those are the only columns you would need in that link or join table. Now VF1 has some constraints on the names, so it wouldn't expect to see the word has in the table name. So let's fix that. Let's double click the table and remove has. So here we have staff car. Now it's even better to name them alphabetically as well, so let's rename this to car staff. So if we look at the columns created by this join table, do we really need all three of these columns? Well, we think this middle one is a bit of a mystery, so let's remove that, because all we actually want is a staff ID and a car ID, which are the foreign keys to those two tables, and this will make up the composite primary key. So they're both going to be the primary key of this table. So now that we have all of our tables, we can save the file. So let's make sure we're saving our workbench so we can edit the diagram again if we need to. Here we're just going to save it to Vito's desktop for now. Let's call it the Cars and People database. And we can also export the SQL file, which we can use in phpMyAdmin. So let's export this. Now we can tick the create drop table so that we can ensure there will be no overlapping tables. And at the moment we haven't inserted any extra data inside the tables, but if we had done, then we can tick that generate insert option to do so. So that will create everything for us automatically. Okay, so we can generate separate index statements, and we don't need the other options for now. So let's name our file Cars and People Database, or Cars and People DB. Sorry, no, I think we need to click Browse first. And now let's name the file Cars and People DB. Here we are. So let's ensure as well that the file extension is an SQL file type. So we can click Save, and then Next, and finally we can choose Finish. There we are. Okay, so what do we actually have here then? Well, we have a workbench file, which if we click that, we will be able to access the diagram again. So we could edit that, and we also have an SQL file, which we can import into phpMyAdmin like we've done previously in the practicals. And that will allow us to create the database on the fly inside phpMyAdmin. So let's make sure we close Workbench now, because we don't need that anymore, and start the MOES platform. Okay, so it looks like we have the green everything is running good to go text. So we can go now to phpMyAdmin. But before we go any further, let's just open the SQL file that we created in Workbench with our favorite editor. Now, as you can see here, this file comes with a set of instructions to create the database, cars and people, so we can import this SQL file rather than creating the tables in phpMyAdmin itself. Now notice the instructions here to check whether there's a table called department, and if there is a table called department already, it will be dropped and the new one will be created from scratch based on the columns that we added in Workbench. Now in the same way, all the other tables will be created as well. Okay, so back to phpMyAdmin. Let's check that we are on the home page of phpMyAdmin, and now we can import our SQL file. So let's choose import and browse, and now let's search for our database that we called cars and people database. So this is the SQL file that we're looking for. So we can click open and then go, which is on the bottom right there. So now we have a new database called cars and people, and as we expected, we have found the 4 tables that we created in Workbench. So what's next? Well, in the next video, me and Vito are going to be singing for you. No. Well, let's go to VF1 in part 3 of this video series.